Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time on this channel, I'm A.H.P. I'm an author and I also do business. Today I'm back with another video which is part of my channel where we talk about real life, real issues. Yeah. So normally, before we go into the video, this is how we normally carry, our babies in Africa. I'm from Uganda, although my videos are made from the UK unless I travel to another place, to another country. Yeah. So today's topic that I'm going to talk about on Real Talks is human trafficking. Human trafficking. This is something that I've heard quite a bit about, and I used to follow some of the ministries that tackle this issue of human trafficking. For example, A21, they deal with human trafficking. Joyce Meyer deals with human trafficking, and there's lots of different ministries that deal with the issue of human trafficking. So I have watched, if you watch Christian stations, you will see these stories over and over again, which are not really stories, they're real life, issues that affect both women and children and men as well. So basically, what is human trafficking? Human trafficking is when an individual is taken from their environment and put in another environment for the purpose of either forced labor or in the sex industry. Now, a lot of people, when they think of human trafficking, the first thing they think of is sex industry, but that's not always the case. It's both the sex industry and forced labor. Now, a few years ago, when God began to lay different countries on my heart, for example, China, he began to show me, through vision, like dreams in the night, the issue of human trafficking. And I used to see, girls being taken, and they're going missing, and they end up in the sex industry. And then I'll be in, walking normally in these visions, some of the visions sometimes, and I would find, what looks like a normal cafe, and then under their basement you'd find children there. And I used to see these in visions, and I began to intercede, and I used to say, God, like, set those children free, set those young people free, set those men and women free. And I used to donate to the to the ministries that deal with human trafficking. A21, run by, what's her name, I think it's Catherine. Is it Catherine? Anyway, I'll put their details down, and I used to donate to her ministry. And her husband is Nick. I know her husband is Nick. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot. Her name's gone out of my head. But anyway, she's from Australia. And then also Joyce Meyer. And so I used to donate to them, and then, just believe in God that God would set them free. And every time I heard a story of a young person who's been set free, another child who's been set free, through these ministries, I would rejoice, and so recently, about over 2 years ago, I wrote a magazine on it, because I was so shocked to find out that not a lot of people, especially in the UK, not a lot of people know about human trafficking. So that is why sometimes we kind of take, as parents, we take our environment for granted. And then as young people, we're so naive, and we just talk to anybody and everybody, and so human trafficking doesn't just happen to missing children. Those young people who go missing, most oftentimes is because they've been trafficked. Oftentimes, if not lured into gang, it's normally lured into the sex industry or the forced labor. But most often is in the sex industry. And so they get lured into these places by the traffickers. And the thing is, it doesn't just happen on the streets. Yeah, it doesn't just happen on the streets. So you might be thinking as a parent, or you might be thinking, oh, it's just maybe let me be careful not to allow my children or my child to go out at a certain time on their own and stuff like that. It doesn't just happen on the streets. That's what I used to think, that it happened just like on the normal outdoors. But then I began to see, like, God showed me it happening in schools, right, within the education settings. In some countries it happens in the education settings, places like primary school, secondary school, sometimes even, not to scare you, but even nurseries, and then also boarding school. I saw, like, for those of you whose children, like, nations where there's boarding school, I saw boarding school, like, where these traffickers, they'll go into the schools and stuff like that, into the boarding schools and stuff like that. And so it happens in those places. But not just that, okay? Not just that. It happens, and it can be anywhere. It can be anywhere. It can be a hotel. It can be shopping mall. That's some of the places where they go, shopping mall. Okay, so when you have your children and your young person just roaming the streets, going to the shopping mall, and not being aware of this issue, they can fall prey into it. So I'm just sharing this video not to scare parents, not to scare any young person that may watch this, but to make you aware, to know what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. Because any of us can fall victim, unfortunately, can fall prey to human trafficking. It's not just young people, it's not just children, but even adults. How does the adult happen? With adults, it happens through work promises. When you go, when you are sent, like, work, what's it called? Recruitment, advertisement. Some of them, they send recruitment. Some of these traffickers, they send recruitment advertisement to you. Like, they may email you or they may call you and say, we are recruiting, and this is our company. They'll show you, like, all these things. And because sometimes people are so desperate for work, they end up flying out of their country. They'll say, come and meet us here in this country or this city. And you think you're going in for work, you think you're going in for interview, and then you are held hostage. They take your travel document, they take your ID, they take everything, and you become literally a slave to either the sex industry. Most of them who are adults, they end up in the sex industry. And you end up being punished and brainwashed and all of that stuff, get tortured, and you end up working as a sex slave in the brothels, or in a particular hotel, or in the streets. And then in the night times is brothels and different streets, different hotels, and all of that stuff. And so and it happens to a lot of people. And then also with young people, like young men and young women, some of them end up in forced labor as well. They end up in countries and they end up working for nothing. working for nothing, literally. And who are the traffickers? Who are the traffickers? You might think, stereotypically, you might think it's men who do the trafficking. Not only that, um, not only men do the trafficking, men do it, women do it as well, and then they use equally the young people who they've trafficked already before, and they're in that trafficking, for lack of a better word, trafficking system, right? They use them to now be as bait to go and traffic other young people. So you find like a 20-year-old going to the mall and talking to a teenage person, whether it's a girl or a boy. They'll talk to you, and you might find a young child being posted as that they've lost their way, and you go trying to help them. Guess what? You end up being taken away as well. And so these things happen. So how can you avoid being trafficked, and how can you avoid your child or your young person, what's it called, falling prey to traffic? It's learning about the environment that you're in, because trafficking, you're not just trafficked out of your country. Sometimes even within your neighborhood, people are trafficked and kept in the same neighborhood, but nobody knows, and then they're groomed for the sex industry, and you'll never know, because you don't see these children going out, you don't see these young people going out. You only see them, if you see them going out, it looks like they're just part and parcel of the environment, so you'll never know. For example, you see them on a flight, going to another country, and you think it's just normal, unless you know the telltale signs, the uncomfort in the person who has just been trafficked. I've seen stories where, cases, not stories, cases where somebody was on a flight, a flight attendant was on a flight, and a young person had been trafficked, and the trafficker was pretending, that they were nice to this young person. And because the flight attendant had been trained to know the telltale signs of a trafficker and somebody who's been trafficked, they were able to quickly alert the security on the flight, and literally had that trafficker arrested, and that young person rescued. That has happened oftentimes, and so you have to know the telltale signs. Not everybody that goes to a restaurant and is sitting with a person is actually happy. Some of them, they take them there to be like escort, and then end up in the hotel doing sex duties and all of that stuff. And so it's very important that even as a waitress, so that you can alert security and have that person set free from that situation. And what else can I think of? So yeah, they're different neighborhoods. In the UK alone, Birmingham is one of those areas. Birmingham is one of those areas that is known for high levels of human trafficking. Okay, and what's it called? China, for outside of the UK, China, South Africa. What is the other country? Hello? Do you want to get down? No. You want to get down? No. Huh? Sit down. You want to sit down? No. No, you don't want to sit down? No. Okay. And it's so hot, guys. And so it's important that It's important that you share information that you know with other young people. And if you are a young person or even an adult who has been trafficked, I pray that you get set free, that you get rescued, but not just praying that you get rescued. Try and alert someone. Try and alert someone when you can, when the opportunity arises. Try and alert someone. A21 is one of those for Australia. I think they also have branches in the UK, but literally I'll find out branches that in different places and place them in the link below. But share this video with other people who you may think that it will benefit. Just so you are aware, as teachers, be aware, be aware of the environment around you and the children who are in your care, so that they're not vulnerable to traffickers who come and they pretend like they're parents or carers at the school gate or even on the school compound. These things do happen. So be aware, be vigilant, at all times. And it's not just a scale, but be vigilant at all times. Don't just, as a parent, don't just tell your young people or your children that don't talk to strangers. Tell them why. And as a young person, don't just go for any job. Vet it. There are ways of vetting, and because any of us can fall prey to a trafficker, any one of us. I remember like a simple story that I'll share with you, my own experience. I remember when I was homeless, right? I was homeless like 2 years ago. I was homeless. I was on the street, and I used to sit in McDonald's a lot during the day, just to pass time and all of that, do what I normally do and all of that stuff, right? And this woman, out of the blue, she used to come. I used to see her very regularly, and she used to come into McDonald's, and she would sit and she would talk and she would talk, and then she would go to another person. She would talk and she would talk and she would go to another person. One day she came to me, and then she was like, "Oh, come, follow me, put on some makeup." So me thinking okay, being naive, I'm thinking this person is nice, let me follow her and all of that stuff. In my grown state like this, I was like, okay, this person, she's nice. I mean, she's talking to someone who I know. So yeah, I was carrying you. You said no, so anyway, and we tried on makeup and everything like that. Before you know it, we go to the jewelry shop, and then she says, "Oh, I'm going to buy some jewelry, No, I'm not putting you back on my back, no. Before you know it, the lady goes, "Oh," while we're on our way to, anyway, before getting to the jewelry place, she starts talking about this guy that she knows, she's a friend of. And then she was like, "Oh, I want to introduce you to the guy, maybe, give you to the guy because he's looking for a girlfriend," and all of that stuff. And I was like, all these things started going off in my head, all these alarm bells started going off in my head. And I was like, how am I going to get rid of this woman? How am I going to get rid of her? Anyway, she goes into the jewelry and I stand outside. And as she goes into the jewelry store, I quickly ducked out of that area very quickly. And up to today, I've never seen her again. But imagine if I had followed her everywhere. What would have happened to me? Another night, during the same period when I was homeless, I was walking up. What? I was walking up and down, it was evening time, and all of a sudden, it was night time. All of a sudden, you know, this taxi driver this guy is posing as a taxi driver. It's a taxi. It had a number plate that I've never seen before, like a taxi company I've never seen before, and it doesn't look like a legit taxi, you know. All of a sudden, this guy says, come. I was like, no, I'm not coming, and I ducked out of that place. But imagine if I was naive to go close and to find out what he wants to say, you know. Anything could have happened. Anything could have happened. And then anything could have happened. And I've had countless situations like that, especially when I was homeless. Like, I had countless situations that I thank God, like, God spared me from these scenarios. It could have literally turned another way. But anyway, guys, I'll stop here. Share this video if you have any questions, any information. Place it in the comment section and I'll respond accordingly. But literally, guys, be careful when you're out there, and when your children are out there, when your young people are out there, be careful. Like, not everything is what it seems, you know. So be careful, and I shall see you guys in the next video. Bye. Yes, darling.